What's up, everybody? Friendly Greens here, coming back at you on an update on these gold glues by Mephisto Genetics, and they are day 49. So you can see here they are shooting up some good frost on them, getting frosty. This girl's starting to get her frost going on. I did do a little bit of leaf cleaning and throughout this canopy here. As you can kind of somewhat see, I might need to do a little bit more of a leaf cleanage. That was about probably a few days ago. I did some cleanage of the leaves, and right here she's a bit filled up in there with leafage as well, so I'll probably end up having to do some cleaning throughout her. And as you see down in this one, she is a bit full with some more leaves, so we'll kind of do a slight tiny bit of defoliation on all three of these in the next couple of days. Maybe even tonight we will defoliate some of them. So what I'm looking for when I personally defoliate, everyone kind of has their own methods to it, but I don't like to remove too many leaves at one time. So like these leaves right here that are kind of near the top, that are the bigger ones, I will snip those off, just basically to allow light to go down and kind of give more light to these bottom nugs and these bottom shoots. So like this leaf will get cut off and removed, this leaf here will get cut off and removed, and then this leaf down here will get cut off and removed, and then like these bud sites that are closer and more congested together, I will strip them down a little bit more of leaves and get a kind of bottom shot of these plants. They are pretty cleaned up on the bottoms, not a lot of little leaves or smaller bud sites. I did remove those about maybe kind of actually around the same time I did defoliate these last, but it is starting to look like it's about time to defoliate them. So far, the organic nutrients are doing quite nice. They got good green on them. Still no curling yet. Maybe a slight like toxicity of this one right here. As you can kind of see, slight nitrogen toxicity, a little bit of a curled leaf. But that could have been just because I added a little bit too much. This time I did a full strength of the flowering top dressing. Usually I've been doing like about a half of strength, but I figured they could maybe handle the full strength, but apparently I was wrong on that. I just kind of wanted to do a full strength just because I didn't want to have to top dress like so immediately after, because when I do the half strength, generally it's about every 2 weeks that I'm having the top dress. Just because of the smaller pots, it does make it a little bit of a pain to top dress in these. That is the one downside of these smaller 2-gallon 1 foot tall pots. The circumference, since they're 1 foot tall, is not very wide, so it does make it quite challenging to do a top dressing. So if you do want to like look into getting these pots and use these pots, I would probably recommend like a liquid nutrient. It might be easier just to mix into the soil that way. But as you see here, nice green, big fan leaf. I mean, you know, about the size, almost size of my hand, and you know, I got pretty big hands. Same with this big old fan leaf. Nice big fan leaf here. This gal is still kind of, you know, a little on the smaller side to compare to her sisters. This one is the biggest, second biggest, and then the smallest. It kind of just goes boom, boom, boom. We are still sitting at about the same percentage on the light. Maybe I did dial it back a tad bit, and I did take a ppfd measurement of them. This one, being in the middle, is getting the highest ppfd right now. She is sitting at about 720 ppfd, and then on the way far side, like right here, we're hitting about 600, and then right here about like 650 here, and then about 600 there. So pretty much in the perfect range. I probably will end up turning the light all the way to max, probably when they get a little bit further into flower here, and then we will bump on these sidebar lighting. But right now I don't really see a need for the sidebar lighting on these plants, as well with these plants I did remove a lot of those smaller under bud shoots, just because I didn't really feel like it was worth, you know, using the extra power on the sidebar lightings this grow, especially with these plants, as before you pop any bean, you should do your research into those beans that you're gonna be popping. And you know, they don't get very huge just because of like their genetics and stuff. They get about a little bit around 2 feet tall at the max, 1 foot at their minimum height. If I didn't tie them down, they would probably be about 2 feet tall. Right now, being tied down, I would say they're about, you know, maybe a foot, close to a foot tall. This one's maybe a little bit taller than a foot, but this one had some crazy stretchage going on during her stretch phase. And as you can see here, there's just a load of bud sites on this gal here. And same thing with the other two. I will remove like a few leaves here and there. She does have, you know, some slight droopage of the leaves here, but just by, you know, flicking up on the leaf here, I can kind of tell it's just because she's thirsty. She's just a tad bit thirsty. I am waiting to water though, just because, you know, sticking my finger in about the top 2 inches of the soil, you can feel like a wet, almost not like a moist, it's not super moist, but it's wet. And that one is obviously going to be more moist than the rest of them because she is a smaller plant, so she's going to drink up less of the soil in the, or the water in the soil. But this one, I go about 2 inches down and I can still feel some moistness, so I am gonna let them go a little bit more dry. Probably will give them some water early morning or later in the night. Tonight the lights just turned on, and feeling the sides of the pots and the bottom of the pot, I can tell she does have water in her. And then picking up the pot is another way that I like to tell if they need to be watered, because I will basically, before I plant the seed in, I let the soil dry out and then I pick up the pot, so I can kind of get a gist of how heavy that pot is when it is fully dry. And then obviously, you know, you got the root mass and everything else, and the plant material is going to add some weight to it, so you just kind of want to, you know, bump that weight up by a little bit, and then you can kind of get a good gist of picking up the pots. I like doing that method more than say like a soil meter or something. I just like to be a little bit more hands-on with the plants. Everyone has their own growing preference, but I believe that being a little bit more hands-on with the girls is just a little bit better of a way for learning and stuff like that. You're not too reliant on, you know, equipment and things like that. Although I rely quite heavily on the AC Infinity controller. I have the 69 Pro. I do rely on that for my humidity and temperature, VPD, all of that fun jazz, and that controls my exhaust fan up there. I don't have it controlling this light because this is not an AC Infinity light, so it does not work with that. I could use these sidebars and plug them into the controller, but these come with their own controller, so I just use the controller that came with these. These are AC Infinity sidebar lightings. Same with the fan. I could plug that into the controller, but it's got controls on, let me see here, show you guys. It's got a 10 speed setting on the back there, oscillating mode. I don't use the oscillating mode because this fan is about 3 years old, and something in the motor, the bearings probably went bad. It makes a little bit of annoying clicking noise, so I just don't have it oscillating. But in this small 4x2 tent, just having it at an angle with the tent closed, it does circulate enough air around, in my opinion. But yeah, this is just kind of a little update on these gals. They're not doing too bad. Like I said, I will do a little bit more of a defoliation, and this will probably be my very last defoliation on these gals. If you guys liked, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps the channel out greatly. And I will catch you all in another video. Later, guys.